Hello and welcome to the Oklahoma Mind Ninja podcast with Derek. This is the first episode of our new podcast. We are really excited about what's coming up, and I am excited to kind of tell you a little bit about me, a little bit about what my vision is for all of this, and how that I am seeing and doing. But I need to step into my world a little bit. So I love that. Let me explain who I am and kind of what I'm about and why it's called the Oklahoma Mind Ninja. Probably do like one. First of all, why Oklahoma called the Oklahoma Mind Ninja is because one, I live in Oklahoma. I love the state of Oklahoma, where I'm from. Where you're going to get to hear the ins, outs, ups, downs, and all around about what's happening here in the state. I'm not going to be afraid. I've never been afraid to speak my mind or say what I'm thinking. So this will allow you the opportunity to also see what I think, how I think. If you'd like to comment, please feel free. I don't mind being disagreed with. I don't mind challenges. I'm okay with that. Um, I also like people to say, hey, yep, that made me think differently. The reason it's called Oklahoma Mind Ninja is because I have worked with over 3,000 students. I'm a college professor. I work with transition students. I also do GED courses at OCCC. I worked at UCF for 10 years. And so I love working with students, particularly students that come in and they have a particular perspective. They think they know what they're doing. They think everything's all set up for them. And then we go through our 9-week course. And by the end, they're like going, I don't think the same thing. It changed my perspective. And I had a student look at me and go, you are my ninja. And I thought, what a great title. I like that. So I thought, I'm going to keep that and save that and then one day use it. And I thought, today's the day. Today's the day. I thought, what a great opportunity. So a couple things that we'll be looking at. We'll be looking at current events. We'll be looking at things that are happening in cities and towns. I'll talk to you about anything from could be food, could be Oklahoma agriculture. I will take a look at the political world, but not from a distinct perspective. My goal is to kind of get you to think and get you to really delve into things and critically think about things and just maybe look at it from all perspectives and let you make the decision, because I think that is super important, that we are able to make our own decisions and kind of look at what's happened. So that's an overview. There will be a lot of other things sprinkled in. We'll talk about how to be successful. I'll give you a little nuggets to take with you. Maybe talk priorities a little bit. I have an awesome priorities lesson for you to do with anybody around you. And it will allow you the opportunity to really kind of drill down on what is your priorities and the people around you's priorities. And it's a lot of fun, and it is life affirming. And it really takes everything that we've ever learned and flips it on our head. And so I love that part of it as well. Today's podcast is really one that I want to talk about because I have a lot of different things juggling at once. One of the things that I do is I run Future Vision and Growth Norman. Future Vision and Growth Norman is a Facebook page that also is an organization that is run to be able to help and guide Norman into its future iteration and kind of the way that it's going to grow, the way that it's going to become the city that it wants to be. And I have these big questions. I have big questions about little things, and I have little questions about big things. So we're going to kind of walk through that, and let me show you kind of what it's going to be like. Current events wise, we've had a lot of major things happen today. In the Norman area, one of the biggest things that happened is the Oklahoma Supreme Court ruled that the turnpike can go forward. It is very interesting to live in a city where the impact of that is very real. And so I've driven out in those beautiful areas and I've seen those homes, and I have the ultimate of feelings for the people that are going to lose their homes because of this decision. And at the same time, I also have to look at it from a city perspective, which means we're going to have more people driving by our city. It's going to look different, and it's going to add another growth component, which we have to prepare for. So there's 3 different things happening all at once, and there's a lot happening in Norman as it's growing on its own. So we are having somewhat of an identity crisis, might be strong, but I would say kind of. So we're looking at who we are. Now, to understand my background a little bit, I grew up in small towns. I grew up in a small town in Minnesota. There was about 2,500 people. Then I moved to Southwest Oklahoma, where my hometown was 25,000 people. I'm an Altus boy. Um, and then went to school in Weatherford, and then came back to the city, came to Oklahoma City, lived there for a while, and then I moved to Norman. I've been in Norman almost 20 years now. And so I've gotten a chance to really love this city, and I've actually lived in this city longer than any other place. So it's been fun to watch, and I think I have a history with Norman that's very interesting. In that, when I was younger, it was essentially wealthy people and game day people that were able to come up to Norman and play. My sister got to come up here because she had a really good friend that had family up here, and I always thought it was kind of like this magical place. Why? Because you come home and say she went to Campus Corner, she got to make jewelry. There was a lot of music and art, and it was very eclectic, and it just had a vibe. It had a Norman vibe, and I thought, what an awesome place! I hope one day I hope we get to go there, and I did get that opportunity to come here. It was for the Oklahoma Intercollegiate Press Association yearbook competition, and when I did, I was on campus, and the first time that I set foot on OU campus, I was in shock because I've been in Weatherford, and so it's a little bit different. The campus is beautiful, but it's Western Oklahoma, and so you get on this campus and you have this level of impressiveness seeing the University of Oklahoma, and I was like, wow. But I also noticed that people were really stressed out when they walked around. Little did I know it's probably finals time, so they would be stressed in about November. So it was fascinating for me to kind of just be here. Um, Little in my world did I think that I might move here one day, or let alone marry my beloved, who would be going to OU and become a teacher. And it's just like my life would change and revolve around this city. And so I didn't know how invested I would be in the city. And I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot of things going on. So we are in a inflection point in Norman. Norman is growing very, very quickly. There are multiple groups in the city of Norman that really have different interests. And so we're working really, really hard at coalescing those interests and creating one narrative of Norman. I've got 3 or 4 different organizations coming in trying to analyze the situation. And some of it I find kind of silly, to be honest with you. Again, I'm not gonna lie. I find it kind of silly. I mean, in other areas, I think there's pieces of each one that are amazing, but at the same time, I'm like, why are we doing this again? If you don't know, of course, the University of Oklahoma is Norman's home. Norman is home to OU. So we like to analyze, think, research, go over stuff ad nauseum. I mean, we dig deep, and we have all the resources available to us to be able to do that. We have all these university professors and scholars, and they can come in and they can like really like dig in the details. That can be a great thing, and that can be an issue, because what happens is you can get to a place where you're like, wait a minute, we've like kept analyzing, and we don't act. My question, I guess, that I have right now, and the question I have on my podcast as the first question is Norman, Oklahoma afraid of taking a big swing? Now, let's talk history for a minute. I believe and know that Norman has taken big swings. The university is sitting on an air base. The university is sitting on South Base, and North Base is Max Westheimer Airport. So it had to take an Air Force or a Navy base or Army base and create a university out of it. I mean, that was a big swing. We have Hitachi here. We have the National Weather Service here. We've got, the National NCED, trains all the postal workers, postal training facility here. We've taken big swings. We know big swings. We also are an elite athletic city. I mean, whether it is OU, whether it is our local city, I mean, we are elite at athletics. We are not afraid to take a big swing when it comes to athletics. I don't know what has happened, and I'm asking this question honestly to put it out there and open this conversation and say, okay, What has happened to Norman that it is afraid of taking big swings? What happened? I'm like, I believe in who we are. I believe in what we're accomplishing. I believe in our leadership. I said, we have really good leadership. We have a good mayor. We have good council. We've got the economic development teams, the NEDC, and then you've got the chamber. You've got Visit Norman. I'm like, these are amazing teams that are doing great things. But I think we're really getting stuck in an incremental pattern. We spent quite a bit of money on bringing in strong towns. And so far, all I've seen about strong towns is that they think you should incrementally grow and not grow too fast. I got news for you. We've already done that. We've been doing incrementalism before incrementalism was cool. I mean, we've been doing that. Now, I love the idea of strong neighborhoods. I think that's fantastic. I think that component of that is fantastic. But I wonder whether people know exactly what it is that we're trying to accomplish in Norman when we start to go small. I think small things can have great impacts. I really do. We have one of the largest independent music festivals in the state of Oklahoma with Norman Music Festival every year in the spring. We are creating projects right now that will have huge tournaments coming to Norman. And I mean, it's exciting. I love that part. I think it's exciting. I think small business is exciting. I love small businesses. I love the relationship. I love the one-on-one. I think they're fantastic. I think that there is a balance between small business and big in business and those things that we throw out there and say, we can do this, be aspirational, and then go after it. What if you fail? Guess what? We're gonna fail. If you have not tried to go big and then failed at least once, have you really tried at all? I mean, look, I'm putting myself out here on a podcast. Do you know what? I could get all kinds of negative comments underneath. I have people talk bad about me. I put videos out before. This is not my first time to have this happen. I've had people talk negatively about me. You know what? I smile and I go on. But I keep trying and keep pushing and keep doing the next thing to see what comes next. Because I think my life is going to be bigger. So I'm like, why wouldn't my city be bigger? And I've got a good example. I've got a small example. I've got my hometown to look at. Why? Because Altus, Oklahoma was in a very different space, even like 5 years ago. I'll say 10 years ago, just go 10. 10 years ago, Altus, Oklahoma was in a very different space. They were losing population. The base was still there, and the people love that Air Force Base. They love it. But the city leadership was very different. We have seen a transition in the last decade in Altus, Oklahoma, to a point where we have major projects going on, and their businesses open up every couple of weeks. We've got new housing additions going in. The base people still love it. They're renovating the reservoir area, their downtown areas, like turning into something incredible as a crown jewel of Southwest Oklahoma. And it is drawing people from all over the region into that town. And so I'm watching my small town, my little hometown, take bigger swings than Norman, Oklahoma. And I mean, I'll tell you, the big cities take big swings. Look at Tulsa. Look at the Gathering Place. That is a phenomenal, amazing thing. Look at Oklahoma City. We don't even have to say anything. You just simply say Oklahoma City. You know they've taken big swings. And they're taking bigger swings and bigger swings and bigger swings. And sometimes they work, and sometimes they're like, it did well, but maybe people didn't love it. But then they got something out of it. So again, we cannot be afraid to take a big swing. We cannot be afraid to say, you know what can we do to make ourselves more interesting and more exciting? And I think that's something we all work on. So what does that look like? Let me talk about a big swing that was proposed that did not work. A big swing that was proposed was to put an arena and to put a whole bunch of shopping and plazas and all this up at University North Park. The Chamber of Commerce president, Scott Martin, he proposed it. They had a big swing. They put a big swing out there, and it got swatted down in Norman. It got swatted down really quickly in Norman. I said, because they were like, where are you going to put it? Why is it going to go up there? What are we going to do with it? And it just didn't happen. And I'm like, that right there showed me and showed a lot of people in the leadership and economic development world where Norman was at. They thought, we aren't going to be able to take the swings we need to take. We're going to have to go slow and easy so that people are comfortable with it. Guess what? Change is uncomfortable. It's not comfortable. It is uncomfortable. Putting yourself out there and saying we want something and then going to get it is uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable. It's not something that we're going to sit there and say, this is something I love. I mean, I love to be comfortable. I love to be safe. I love to be in an environment where I'm comfortable and I know what's going to happen. And then I walk into a classroom of 18 to, 60, 70-year-olds, and I have no idea what I'm walking into. You know what the amazing thing is? I learn from everybody around me. I learn from my students. I learn from the work that I do. I learn from people. I love learning. I love learning new things. I'm constantly learning. I'm learning all about regenerative agriculture. Do you know what? I live in a suburban housing addition in Norman. My regenerative ag is my backyard. I'm planting things. You know what? I'm failing miserably at some of those things. I have burnt up plants outside. I ripped up weeds, which were actually plants. And I thought, this is a mess. I've messed this up. But you know what? I'm learning. I'm taking small steps and I'm learning. When I'm learning about business, I'm learning about Norman. I was like, oh, I want to get involved in this. So I'm watching city council minutes. I'm watching other meeting minutes. I'm going to visit. I'm filming. I'm taking pictures. I'm learning who the players are. I'm learning what they have coming up. I'm learning about the well and health and wellness and who we are as a city and our identity. So that when I talk about Norman, when I talk about our area, it's fantastic. But I'm going to tell you, my page, my Future Vision and Growth page, it is that Future Vision and Growth. I'm looking at that. That is a way for me to promote my city and shine a light on my city and the good things the city is doing. You want a critique of my city? If you want a critique of other cities, you got to come here. You got to come to the podcast, because the podcast, I'll be more real. I'll be more honest. I'll say more about what I'm thinking. At the same time, I want to always let you know, I love the city of Norman. I love what's possible. I mean, we are a music capital of Norman in Oklahoma, and always have been. Now, let's talk a little bit in the more broader context, because Norman's not the only city. Norman's not the only like place that we're having problems taking big swings. Oklahoma overall has had problems taking big swings. The problem is we've got a neighbor to the south that is doing everything that we're doing, but bigger. And they ain't afraid to take swings. They're not afraid at all. They will take big swings that make sense, and swings that don't make sense, but they'll at least take them. And there's a lot of people that are paying attention. There's a lot of people that are looking for different spaces to go and places to go, and we could be that space. We could be that place. But we have to really look at who we are as Oklahomans and how we don't want to be Texas. We don't want to be Texas. I don't want to be Kansas. I don't want to be New Mexico. I don't want to be in Missouri. Don't want to be New York. Don't want to be California. I don't want to be anybody else but who we are. We are Oklahomans. We are unique. And if you don't believe it, come and visit. Come and visit. Come and hang out. Come and spend some time in Norman, Oklahoma. Come spend some time in any city in Oklahoma and visit with our people. Once you do, you will understand why Oklahoma is a very special place. We are the nicest state. Do we fight tooth and nail? Yep, we really do. We fight all the time. We've got disagreements. We argue. We do all those things. But if you have an issue, if you have a problem, if you have a weather event or a disaster, guess who the first person in line is going to be to help you? All those neighbors. If you're a company looking for a great quality of life, this is a fantastic state. This is a fantastic state. But why are we not getting the investments we're getting? Because our state leadership is not doing the PR job they need to. All they'd have to do is ratchet down some of the stuff that they've been saying. That's it. If we were less on the extreme side and just promoting our we have the same tax structure as our neighbor to the south. We've got, ultimately, it's cheaper to live here than it is there. We've got the land available. I'm like, we are not that much different. The only difference is we are modeling our political system after our neighbor to the south instead of just embracing who we are. And if we did that and opened it up, guess what? The investment, the Veneta thing would not be an anomaly. By the way, excited about the Veneta economic development and that possible amusement park. Excited about the amphitheater happening in Oklahoma City, 12,000 seats. Excited about the other projects that are happening across the state. But again, I live in Norman, and remember, I'm still having that same battle and question in my head. Why are we not getting in here? Why wasn't our team ready to rock and roll and get those companies to say, hey, wait a minute, come check us out, come see what we've got going on. I think that's important. I think if you're a small town in Oklahoma, by the way, we have some amazing small towns. If you've not been to Sulphur, if you've not been to I love Sulphur. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. I Travertine, I said that whole Davis area is beautiful. I love Weatherford. I love going out west. Broken Arrow. I know that's not a rural town, but let me tell you, I spent a lot of time in Broken Arrow and will continue to spend a lot of time in Broken Arrow. So I'm getting to watch their suburb to the south grow in the Tulsa metro area. And guess what? They're similar in size to Norman, Oklahoma. We're seeing what they're doing and kind of being like, hey, best practices. That's fantastic. Let's see what you're up to. I love going to other states. I got family all over the country. I love to see what you're up to, what you're doing. But Christmas time, we had a ball going through small towns and stopping and taking pictures. There was a hay bale with Snoopy characters on it. We stopped and looked at Christmas decorations. And we would go down a town square and just thought that was absolutely fun. And we'd see lights, and it was neat. Sapulpa, of course, last year during the holidays was the center of the United States universe because of what they did with the shoot. So we see kind of like what can happen with small towns. And then you look at the squares and the small shops and the small businesses and what events they have going on, the festivals. We've got watermelons and strawberries and onion burgers and the Czech festivals. And we have all these things that are happening. We have Watauga Cheese Festival. Rush Springs watermelon pit. We have the Porter Peach Festival. We have all these things that are happening, and constantly, we have a hard time saying how amazing we are. We're getting there. Our culinary arts are going through the roof. We have incredible chefs. We have incredible innovation and creation. Our artists are doing more than they've ever done before. We have incredible songwriters and musicians. Oklahoma. Okay, I know film and TV is in a bit of a bind right now, which I hope they get that ironed out really quickly. Why? Because Oklahoma was on a great trajectory and would like to have those actors and actresses and writers paid so that they can go ahead and get back to work. Why? Because we want them to get the pay they deserve. And at the same time, we need to go ahead and get our state ready to rock and roll again. We have phenomenal infrastructure on film and music, and we have a legacy and history in film and music. So we are in a position that is going to be fantastic once that gets resolved. We have the opportunity to be one of the greatest states in the union, period, in every category. We just have to embrace it. Our identity is multifaceted. I said, we are a state that is a Western state. So we have a cowboy culture here. But guess what? We're also Native America. We have indigenous tribes that have made Oklahoma home because they were driven here. I mean, they were driven here, and so they have those tribal nations are very important to the state of Oklahoma because they are part of who we are. They are who we are. I said we have Western Plains tribes that have been going across Oklahoma for as long as the land has been here. I'm like, so ultimately, we are a tribal state. I love our tribal partners. I think they're incredible. I think what they do for Oklahoma and the way they enrich our culture and heritage is phenomenal. And we need to continue to work with those tribal nations and make sure that we are doing what we need to do to build bridges and community and really understand each other and the vision for Oklahoma, bringing all the partners together. I mean, the business community gets it. We have awesome opportunities because we have people that can invest in areas of our state. Let's work together. Let's make it happen. When we're looking at, I'm an education person. I mean, I'm whether it is my kids being in school, I've got 2 boys. Let me tell you, that's gonna be a whole nother podcast all by itself, raising boys. Fascinating, especially young men that we were trying to help them and guide them and really mold them into gentlemen and scholars. That's what I want, gentlemen and scholars. I'm also a researcher, so I did all of my coursework for my PhD at OU. Have not finished it yet. I put it out there. Why? Because I'm going to make sure that I do that, so that one day I become Dr. Jensen. I'm ready to really delve into some things, but also like get excited about what's happening. My plan for the podcast is a lot of different things, but I will tell you, I will be interviewing people. I will be interviewing some Norman-centric people because, of course, this podcast is based here, and I'm looking at the growth and excitement in the Norman region. But I'll also interview other people that I find interesting. We'll be able to get to know one another and really sit down and talk and just kind of do a one-on-one and figure out who everybody is. If you're a former student of mine, welcome. This is going to be a lot of fun for you because ultimately it's kind of like when I lecture and I got to say whatever I needed to, but on a larger format. And I'll do current events like I did before. I used to tease them and say, I'll do anything from one day they cut open a fish and found a human finger. And I was like, that's strange. To another time, a lady got mad at her husband and decided to barbecue him. And I was like, don't make her mad. I mean, it's like, you never knew what was going to come out. There's stories from all over. It was fascinating as we were doing current events in one of my classes. It was January of 2020. And so this story is just hilarious, but not hilarious. So we end up looking at stories, and there was a virus coming through China, and I thought, this is weird. And it made me laugh because ultimately it was called the coronavirus. And I thought, this is silly. And so I would come in and I did a current event on it. And I said, you know what? There's this funny beer virus going around China. And so we started talking about it. And then we started following it and kind of just watching it go across. It became very serious very fast. And my students were well versed in it because we just kept talking about it. It was something interesting and we kept following it. And then we got really real about it. And they knew ahead of time what was happening because we were having open and serious conversations about the ramifications, what was happening, what wasn't happening, real versus fantasy. We're looking at science versus conjecture and all the stuff that was around it. And so it was just fascinating to watch. And we got ahead of it. And my students just kept coming to class going, but why isn't anybody else watching? Why aren't they all watching? I said, because they don't know yet. When everything shut down, everybody knew. And they were just in shock that we had picked up on it that quickly. I love doing that. I love trends. I like looking at what's next and what's new. AI to me is fascinating. I have no idea what it's going to do, but I'm fascinated by it. So we'll be watching that. We'll watch what the ramifications of that are. I love looking at economies and scale and business and what's possible. Stock picking cracks me up. Why? Because in some ways, I think it's such PR. I think stock picking is such PR. I think it's a chance that they sit there and say, it's all gonna crash, it's all gonna crash. And then when it gets lower, then they buy it all up. And then when it's like, oh, then everything's great and wonderful and it's too high, then they sell it off. I mean, it's a fascinating way to watch the stock market move and how you invest. And that's very simple. And of course, I know a lot of stock people that are like in finance people that are amazing. Um, I taught at UCO for a very long time, so forensics is interesting to me. I probably won't get into a true crime situation. Why? Because it creeps me out, to be honest with you. I like real political drama and things like that, but actual like true crime stuff, not so much. I said, I'm fascinated by the kind of people that like true crime. I mean, if you looked at the demographics of SVU, I think it'd be fascinating. I think people would be like, what is happening? Because it'd be like little old ladies and grandmas, and I mean, or it could be like the most like goody teaches people are watching the craziest stuff, and which I think they probably would laugh if they saw the fact that I'm watching gardening and I mean homesteaders. I love watching homesteading YouTube videos. I think it's important in watching other people and seeing how they do things and what I like and what I don't. I watch a lot of comedians and kind of like their lives and what that looks like. And right now you're probably like, wait a minute, you haven't taken a commercial break. No. You know why? No sponsors yet. When I do have sponsors, I probably will take a commercial break, but not yet. So if you're thinking about wanting to join my podcast or get on here, please let me know. Give me a shout out and we'll start talking and we'll see what that looks like. This is kind of like what it's going to be like. You never know where my mind will go. You never know what I will say. Sometimes I will agree with what I'm saying. Sometimes I'll just put it out there to see what happens. I know that's kind of like a social experiment. And maybe people are like, going, that's a mess. So I love putting stuff out there just to see the reaction that we get. I love to find out what people are arguing about and really like what's new, what's innovative, what's creative. And I just think it's fun. And so I am so excited to get started on this, and you will see me get real passionate about stuff. And I did put on this that is not for children. Why? Because ultimately I will eventually speak more freely and I could use language that might be a little bit more for adults. But at the same time, it's okay. I think we're all grown and we can handle it. And so I love pushing boundaries. I love talking about how the sausage is made when it comes to the political world. Meaning, I'm not going to go hardcore Republican or Democrat, but I will tell you how they do it. Why? Because you're going to want to know. You're going to need to know. Well, because when you need to know who's trying to push you to do what and how they're doing it. And if you understand that, then you can vote for the people you want to vote for. You can vote for the platform you want to vote for. But if you don't understand how it's being done, then guess what? I said you are being manipulated all the time. And they're good at it. They're real good at it and they're smart. And we can talk about what lobbyists are and I mean all these things. And I'll tell you about what they are. I won't say my favorites. By the way, I have friends all over the political world. I've got friends all over the economic development world. Let me just tell you, let me give you some of my work background, just so you know what a unique individual I am. Let's see. I waited tables. I did that. I worked. My dad was a siding contractor, so I did some construction. I worked at a juvenile intervention center for the Oklahoma Center for Nonprofits for a year, doing training development. Of course, I'm a college professor currently. I worked at UPS Hub for a little bit. That was fascinating. I have a way respect for the people that work at the UPS Hub. If you've not been out there, that is an amazing facility. And the fact that things get out the way they do, it is unbelievable. Shout out to all the people at the Hub. Shout out to the unloaders and the management team and everybody that makes things move out there. It is phenomenal to see those packages go where they need to. And to make things happen. And they work really, really hard. I have actors, actresses, I've got chefs, I've got you name it. I've got people around me that are excited about what is going on in Oklahoma. I'm excited to showcase them and talk about what they do and all the excitement they have going on because I am a voice, a platform to let you know that we are a badass state. We're incredible. You should be here. You should be investing here. You should come and visit here. And it's just going to be quite a ride. I love this is going to be my first one. We're going to find out what it looks like later on. And as I grow and change and develop and everything in the podcasting world, I'll get better and better at this. I expect it'll be just a chance for you to also put this on your car. You know what? I'm not going to be someone that's going to do something so flashy that you'll wreck. You can literally just put this sound on, let it go through your car, listen to what I'm saying, and give you something to think about, give you something to ponder, something to look at, and go, you know what? We can talk all kinds of things, talk relationships, we can talk travel. I love to travel. I love it. I love the idea of getting in your car and just going. I watch everything. I watch what's new, what's growing. Anybody that wants to feed me anything, I'll gladly put it on here. I said, if you want to tell me stuff now, obviously I'll put it through a filter of what it is. If you're, sending me something, I know let's say you're a company and you want me to talk about your product. I'm going to tell people this is a company wanting me to talk about their product. If you are coming to spin me for some reason, I'm going to come at you from another perspective and we're going to go back and forth. Have a nice little debate, have a nice little disagreement. But ultimately, I'm going to like you afterwards. That's my goal. We can talk a lot about education because, of course, I've got a lot of experience in it. It's fascinating what has happened over the years in education. And I'm old school. For some of you guys are my age and some of you guys are a little bit older or younger. I said it's been a very different experience for a lot of different people. My kids are going through school now and I'm getting to that age where I'm like, am I going to be able to help you with homework? So I can do some of it, but some of it I'm going, we're learning things a little differently and I have to have my beloved's help. And yes, my beloved is my wife. So that's my nickname for her. And it has been since we got married. And I love it. Why? Because I adore her. She's incredible. She is an activist and she is a teacher and she is a researcher and she is just a phenomenal human being. And there's no one smarter on this planet than my wife. And I adore her. I love volunteering. I love thrift stores. I volunteer at the Donate a Miracle thrift store in Norman. I like competition. So I love there's a outreach thrift stores out there and there's a nice friendly competition between the two. So I love that. I think it's fun. I think the political world is like a game for me. There's real implications and I know that the seriousness and gravity of that, but I also understand that there is a level of competition and gamesmanship to it. So it'll be a lot of fun to kind of go through that political season, what's happening in Oklahoma. Yes, we have football, but I'm not going to be your sportscaster. You can go to the Ref. You can go to, some of the other sports channels. I'm not going to take over their territory. That's not what I want. Plus, I don't know the stats the way they do. They're phenomenal at what they do. So I'll be like, go check them out. Check out Sports Animal. You can go do all that and check them out. I'm not going to do a This Is Us. Why? Because he does This Is Us. If you haven't heard the This Is Us podcast where he interviews movers and shakers from across the country or across the state, it's fun. It's fun to listen to him. Is it Hearn, I believe is his name? So I am excited to kind of do my thing and come in and just put some stuff out there and really start delving into some subjects, digging into them. I think I'm going to answer my own question as I wrap this up. And that is Norman ready to take a big swing? Is Oklahoma ready to take a big swing? And without a doubt, from the pit of my soul, I can tell you that not only is Norman, but not only is Oklahoma, but I'm also ready to take a big swing. So get on this podcast, start listening. Welcome to episode 1. My hope is to do these about once a week. If there was a major event or a reason, I would do it more than once. But right now, my goal is to do them once a week. I can set it up and do a podcast. Now, again, you can do this a couple different ways. You can listen to this, or you can then watch this on YouTube as well. So I look forward to having you on this journey, and I welcome you to the Oklahoma My Ninja podcast. And I can't wait to see you soon.